We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed? More innovation?
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Welcome to the RockShop.net, the official store for the Grand Slam of curling. Whether you're looking for the best hats, stylish clothing, fun toys, or unique accessories, the Rock Shop has it all. Shop online anytime at therockshop.net for exclusive Grand Slam of curling gear, or come see us in person at your next event. The RockShop.net, where fans find their favorite curling gear.
Hello and welcome to the Curling Stadium Speedy Creek Shootout here from Swift Current, Saskatchewan. We have a round-robin game here between Team Rylan Kleiter and Team Wouter Gosgens here. And we are already underway in Swift Current. My name is Marty Thompson. Joining me on color commentary is David Wills. And David, pretty early on in this competition already, but there's still lots to play for two of these teams that are really just building, right? They're at this part of the season. They're trying to get some good reps in as they prepare for next year.
Absolutely. Hi, Marty. It's great to be back doing another really interesting event in Saskatchewan. It seems like this place is becoming a hotbed for some of these amazing events and the teams that it's drawing. It's been really amazing to see how many great battles we've had. But yeah, these teams, I suppose, in a way, you could talk about building, looking at the way they're putting together their teamwork and their communication. The Dutch team, as I was mentioning off camera, I'm not 100% sure, but I suspect they may have even booked this event quite a ways in advance, thinking with the Men's Worlds coming up in Canada, this is a good time of year to be here and to be playing against some good teams. And as you prepare, there's certainly some teams in this event who are going to the Men's Worlds, but sadly the Dutch guys didn't qualify through the Europeans this year, so they're still playing and they're still holding their heads high. This particular group, at least 3 of them, have been together for a long time.
We'll get into this Dutch squad as the game progresses. They do have the hammer here in this first end. Is he just trying to attack a rock out here to the outside?
Yeah, we have the standard set of guards go up the center, and then I think actually Team Kleiter tried to draw around, but failed to get past the guard, kind of slow and over curl. We have a nice corner guard set, and now we're trading shots in the wings just to make sure that nobody gets a stranglehold on the house.
3 pools of 6 here in Swift Current. We have Matt Hall delivering stones here for Team Rylan Kleiter. 8 teams will make the quarterfinal. We got underway here yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each team has played one game. Team Kleiter has won. They beat a fellow provincial team, Josh Bryden, and the Dutch boys lost to the team from China, Xiaoming Zhu, and they're here training and getting themselves ready for the Worlds.
Of course, the Worlds just down the road in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, no, we have. Team Kleiter's from Saskatoon, which is not too far away. It depends on where you live, how far you think something is far, but at least we're in the same province. I'm an Ontario man, and as I was working with a team that was from another country in Saskatchewan, and I was asking them to help me navigate, and they said, "Why do you need a navigator? You're a local." I'm a Canadian. I don't think I can say I'm a local. So.
And of course, folks out west just tend to like to drive a little bit farther just because they're used to having to drive a little bit farther to get to where they need to go to get to, especially in a sport like this where there are a lot of clubs in Saskatchewan, especially, but you can't be adverse to driving 3 or 4 hours to get some decent competition anywhere.
Yep, for sure. When you consider that there's one champion that emerges from that whole province, it's amazing to think about how far they may have to go to get to a provincial championship event or just a provincial competition, frankly.
Josh Mattern here on Vice Stones, just trying to get the come round and perhaps just a little short on there, but there's just a little bit peaking there out for the Dutch team. They might have to rip the guards. Is that what you're thinking?
I think there's probably their wisest move at this point. We've got more than halfway through the end, and it's time to make sure that there's access. The Yellow Rocks, that's Team Gosgens, is playing with hammer, so making sure they have a chance to score, or maybe even to blank if that's part of the strategy is a major factor.
Vice Stones coming up, and a bit of weight coming down here for the Dutch team.
This is Lawrence Hoekman, and he's been with the Dutch program for quite some time. And interestingly, this team has been changing the lineup over time to try and find, I think, the ideal. Because the fellow sweeping and throwing second rocks is Jaap van Dorp. He was originally the skip, and then he was the vice, and now he's throwing second rocks. So we're seeing a little bit of changes in terms of positioning themselves, but they seem to be finding the formula that feels the best right now.
And in a previous event here in Saskatchewan and Martinsville, I believe Simon Spitz was throwing, I believe, second. So there's lots of talent here, at least anyways, Dutch talent in Saskatchewan, chopping and changing here in this event.
Yeah. And as you say, this is a time of year when you can move people around and just see how they fit and how comfortable they are in various roles. The other factor is that front end curlers have to do a lot of sweeping, and if they've been playing hard all season and they're sore and tired and maybe even injured, moving the positions around can help save people from extra wear and tear. So that often happens as well.
Looks like Josh Mattern was attempting the little tap up there, and wide and heavy, or just heavy. It was obviously quite a bit of weight, and gives, as you mentioned here, the Dutch team maybe another chance to rip here with Lawrence Hoekman.
Yep. I think it's actually lined up a little more easily now to remove the guard and the rock in the house. Now they have to make sure they roll their shooter away to keep it out of the center, and that should make things easier for the skip rocks. We're now down to the final vice rock of the end.
Bit of precision needed here from the 27-year-old.
one, and well, the roll away worked beautifully, but unfortunately they didn't get the one in the house. So we can just replace the guard.
We have Rylan Kleiter and Matt Hall discussing their call. I mean, a good opportunity for a skip on their first, on the first end, just to really get a feel for that draw weight again as the full end has progressed. Just get a chance to throw that guard and feel out the ice a little bit more. I'm sure Rylan will be happy about having the opportunity to throw this.
Absolutely. Well, they're also, I don't know how closely we will see similarities from last night's play, but I noticed that the team seemed to take quite a while to get a comfortable feel for the lines on the ice. So by making a call like this early in the game, they just have a chance to watch and have a good look at what's going on out there, because we really did see some struggles yesterday with some of the teams just finding the lines.
Rylan Kleiter's first here in the first end. This team out of Saskatchewan do not have hammer. They're a little tight on line right away, but I think that brushing just at the hop there pushed it out wide enough to keep it pretty close to center as it finishes.
Yep, that line is really quite nice and will be hard. I guess it depends on what kind of weight Wouter throws, but to roll the shooter away and make the double. A bit of a discussion. I'm wondering if they're trying to decide whether they want to come around. I don't know. This early in the game?
I've been watching a lot of the mixed doubles out in Summerside here, the Canadian National Championships that just wrapped up today, actually, with the Lots taking the championship there. They had so much curl. It's, it's doubles, it's arena ice, whatever. This shot would be quite easy to get that little chip off the red, but I think here in Swift Current, it's going to be a lot different conditions, even based off of where that broom is.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of mixed doubles, and I was watching many of those games. Colton and Kadriana managed to rescue games so many times. Really amazing to watch. But here we won't have quite as much curl, I don't think.
That mixture of just excellent draw weight and then the propensity to make those really nice desperation shots certainly gets you a long way in that discipline. So start of skip stones here from the Dutch. Wouter Gosgens looks like just with the clean come around.
Yep, it appears it's just a straight draw. Which, if he can throw it and get it lined up behind the red in the top 8, it could be an absolutely lovely situation. But if he leaves him a little bit of a piece to see, and it looks like there's going to be more than a piece, then he's going to, well, I guess it's far enough in the house now that if Team Kleiter plays the hit, at least we can see the Dutch team coming down and drawing for one without too much difficulty.
Tolerance would have just been lighter on that shot, eh? Just it's, you're certainly, as the other skip, making something a little bit more precise than Kleiter had to, but at the same time, playing to your tolerances was pretty crucial there.
Yep.
That kind of maybe thankful it even went as deep as it did, because if it was, T line or somewhere close to there and they weren't able to drag it over, Kleiter would have a hit and roll to make this even harder. So final stone here for the reigning Saskatchewan men's champions here. Chance to really put some pressure on it in the first end. Looking for the force.
Yeah, a little hit and roll. Very conservative weight, just enough to control the line of the shot, remove the yellow, and maybe get a bonus roll. This is not a bad thing to have it exposed, because it then forces Wouter to decide whether he wants to hit it or just draw. But it looks like he's setting up to hit.
Yeah, the hit is the call. Just hit and stay. Be forced to one here in the first end in Swift Current. As mentioned, this is just their second game of this spiel.
Mm-hmm.
Lots more to play with 5 round robin games on tap.
Right. This is a good workout, as it were, because you play 5 before the playoffs. So 5+ playoffs, if you're fortunate enough to get there, is a really good investment of your time and energy. Get a lot out of an event like this.
Final stone here for Team Netherlands. Really patient with and staying out wide for sure. Got to carve that over. It's just staying dead straight for them. They do get a piece, but they roll out. So Team Rylan Kleiter will take a steal of 1 in the first end. We'll be right back for Swift Current.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardline's Ice Pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best broom in the game. Hardline. Join the revolution.
Saskatchewan, you know Sasktel because we're everywhere. Because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. With Sasktel sponsorships, we get to be part of your community. We're here with you, and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. Sasktel cares. Always has, always will. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
The people have spoken, the votes are in, and the players are ready to rock. At curling's first ever All-Star event, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th, where 13 of the world's best men's and women's curlers face off for a star-studded celebrity pro-am, a unique skills competition, and an all-star skins game you won't want to miss. Got a ticket? We'll see you in Music City. Don't have one? Better hurry. They're going fast. The 2025 TCG All-Star Game, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th. Let's rock.
Welcome back to Swift Current here in the second end. This team out of Saskatchewan with the steal, well executed end for sure. But the Dutch will certainly wish they had at least a couple of those shots back, David. How do we sort of frame this end here as we see already kind of an interesting shape here with the stagger guard, or the corner guard rather, just going a little bit wide here for this Dutch team maybe?
Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose you could say, well, they spent a little bit of their points by getting some experience with the lines, learning about the weight and the lines of the ice, but Team Kleiter really drew them into a draw, and the last 2 rocks, basically of the end, the 2 skip rocks, were both missed, and that's what cost them. But they did end up only giving up the 1, so we're by no means in massive trouble after only 1 end, but you'd think that they would love, as you say, to have a couple shots back, and maybe played 1 more hit with their first skip rock.
Alex Megan throwing lead stones here for this Dutch side.
These guys might have the record for the nicest looking uniforms here.
Love a good gradient for sure.
Yeah, they're always doing, there's always orange whenever you're anything to do with the Netherlands. You can always tell if the Netherlands is participating in any event at a national level or international level, because everything's orange. But this has got a little bit of flash. It's not just plain blazing orange. So I quite like it, actually.
Yeah, they're quite nice. So we have Megan making a really nice come around, awfully tight to that low guard. Matt Hall throwing second stones here for this team out of Saskatchewan.
Yeah, Matt's a familiar figure if you watch the Briar. I actually attended the Briar as a part of the stats team there, and so you see some of these guys, you go, wait a second, I just watched him. They're very familiar. Alrighty, just a tiny bit heavy.
Yeah, quite a bit of precision needed on that shot. I think they really wanted to make sure they got around that yellow, so just around that back 12 weight, looking likely for something in that sort of back 4 T range.
Right. Yeah, he seems to be talking to his team about whether they like the idea of using some weight and then hitting and rolling under the corner, or just drawing. And it looks like, based on where the broom ended up, that they're just playing a down weight shot just to draw up, essentially almost like to angle freeze or angle bump the existing rocks just adjacent to the center line. Here comes Yap.
Looks like the call is just a little tap up here with
Yeah.
yellow-red.
Yeah.
Just saw this line, hoping to just send this Yellowstone on the same track. Lovely bit of precision from this Dutch team already in the second.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's lovely because it's exposed. It can't be removed easily, but they can use it to pop right into their own yellow and run the red out of town. And the next thing you know, they could be lying a bunch. In fact, based on this broom, I think Matt Hall's going to come down and remove the center guard.
Bit of weight needed for this one.
Peel the guard.
Already trying to get this rock to move. Such strong sweepers they have on this team. They
peeled. They got rid of the guard, although they also bumped things around in the house and have left yellow sitting. Well, you tell me, Marty. 1 or 2?
Let's say it's 2, because if the factor of that Yellowstone is higher than that red, I think that automatically makes it a 0.5.
1 and a measure.
So
1
I
and
guess,
a half.
yeah, a couple options here for Gosgens. What do you prefer here, Dave? What do you think would make the best sense for this team right now to try to capitalize on that?
I like trying to make sure that they protect. The other option they have is to just go under the corner guard. I suppose you and I could both look at those 2 yellows and say it's a pretty easy double. And so if you hide one under the corner, then you're probably just going to lose your 2 yellows. The consolation there is that ultimately you're probably going to score 2. You're going to have a good chance to score 2. And if they want, they can try to score 3. So it looks like they're just trying to bring it right into the house underneath the corner guard, add a third rock to the scoring picture, and challenge Team Kleiter to make the double. Because this isn't even third shot. Interesting.
The 3 really good stones here from this Dutch team, and forcing Josh Mattern to throw a bit of weight now. You know, the scouting report for this Kleiter team, I mean, they'd already played them in Martinsville. They'll know exactly what they're good at, and especially from that game, Kleiter whole team was just on fire with hits.
Yeah. The encouraging thing is with Team Gosgens is that they now seem to be getting a much better handle on the weight, even just in the second end. So we're only, in end 2, and we're not noticing a difference in terms of their confidence, both the throwers and the sweepers. So that augurs well for a really great game. 1-2. There's that double.
Nice and easy there from Josh Mattern now. The Dutch team, there's a couple different options. Now they're sitting likely third.
Yes, I think red is 1-2. Yeah. So they've got to make a play on one of the reds and try and sit somewhere that is a little bit hard to get. It looks as if we're going to hit the one in the back in a I don't know if there's a chance to roll a little bit over underneath the existing red, but they want to make sure that they're shot rock. Force Team Kleiter to deal with it.
Lawrence Hoopman's first of 2. Looks like a downweight hit. It's got to move over, though.
Okay, dead nose.
They did give Kleiter, they're just throwing board weight just to make sure they can get to the inside edge of that yellow stone and avoid the jam, right? It's still possible if they overcurl, but just seeing how much they're moving inside out. I mean, this is down the center. We might see something different. They're not really overcurling on them too much here in Swift Current so far.
No, it's true. The curl across the sheet is relatively uniform. I think we'll start to see some changes as the game wears on, but right now we're still early, and so things are relatively fresh and therefore hopefully predictable. We have what looks like a nose hit here, maybe a little bit of a roll, and unfortunately we lost the extra red rock at the back. So now a chance for the Dutch team to come down, hit and roll, and sit 2. Oh no, sorry, they won't be sitting 2. They'll sit 1, but under cover.
And quite crucially, just see how well placed that yellow stone is on the 12-foot there to the left of our screen. Really no double available. It's going to be stationary for quite some time. Yep. Start sort of aiming up the doubles and stuff. This one is going to take off, though. And it rolls out of play.
It hit and rolled, but hit and rolled too far. Yep. At least they managed to remove the shot rock. So we're now to red lying 1 by a very small margin. 2 rocks in the house and some decisions. It's hard to get to the yellow rock. Putting something in front of it. We'd have to not set up a double or just play a freeze.
Yeah, likely they'll attempt this shot just knowing that there's a couple different ways to make it. If you're obviously corner frozen, it's great, but if I think if you're anywhere along the 8-foot or even there, as they're intimating, even if you sort of come side to it, it's still a pretty good result because we're going to likely see this Dutch team have to attack that stone anyways.
Right.
So lots of tolerance here for the first of 2 skip stones here from Rylan Kleiter. And this is a team that made their first Brier just this month. Played in Martinsville in this the other curling stadium event we've had here in Saskatchewan. Went all the way to the semifinals and lost to a red hot Scott Howard team. A good chance to dial in some draw weight and also see that really nice inside out line. You see it's very much aiming for the opposite hack. Should start to curl here for them now. This is coming up really nice for this team from Saskatchewan. The precision, it is there.
I think so. What a lovely shot. Another 4 inches to tightly freeze it, but who's going to get that picky? I think they've done a great job because they're lying 2 and forcing their opponent essentially to deal with the situation, hopefully also keeping things out of the center. I think their goal will be to follow them down and do roughly the same thing.
Some great shot making so far from both teams, but especially from Kleiter. I mean, that is just, almost to the centimeter perfect in that place.
Yeah, they had to make sure they were shot. That was the only little potential snag, but they just managed to sweep it far enough.
So coming straight down, following down that stone that was just thrown here, the first of 2, Wouter Gosgens.
Here comes the intern. A simple draw. mostly about line, but they have to make sure they also get it nice and close to the red, and preferably have it leaving it as a shot rock. The sweepers are not really worried about getting there. We may have to go around these two, almost treating them like guards.
This took a bit of a different path. Didn't come nearly over as much as Kleiter's did. Now they might have a chance to set 3.
Yeah, that rock is pretty much wide open. Edge on edge with the red, so they don't have to worry too much about interference.
Is the ideal roll here just to try to get all the way across, do you think, to get kind of in an awkward position, almost close out of the redstone? Yeah, around there, Matt Hall intimates. Is that the best shot here?
I mean, that's great, because if you're going to leave the Dutch team in the draw, I guess you'd like them not to have easy backing. But at the end of the day, keeping your red rocks separate from each other, so that there's no easy way to take out more than one, I think is a key. Now, we only have 2 rocks left this end, so in some ways it may be academic. The middle is wide open. The 4-foot will be, and there's no way to sit in the top of the 4-foot, so I think we'll just see a clinical removal without terrible concern about where we roll.
Nice sweep here from Josh Matter and just getting right to the face.
Yep.
And that is awfully good again from Team Kleiter. Wow.
Excellent. Just a straight draw. They do have most of the 8-foot and all the 4-foot. So in theory, for an experienced skip, this should be fairly straightforward.
So it's Dutch side under pressure already. Their skipper with the shooting against 2 in the first end, now likely shooting against 3. Trying to take their 1 point here and move into the third end, tied. Another already a massive shot early on in this game, just knowing how much pressure they're in.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to say that in the second end, but it's true. If this isn't precise, the game becomes a bit of a mountain to climb. So final stone here in the second end.
Yeah, you're making an excellent point to say this is, after all, a draw against 3. So you can't afford to mess around.
Megan with a little broom down early, but he got hauled off of it. Now this is going to really sail for them. How far will it go? All the way to the back and into the 12-foot ring. So likely 3, maybe 2. And all of a sudden, as you mentioned, this is a big shot for this exact reason. We will be right back from Swift Current.
Team Homan rocks. Team Mowat rocks. But who rocks harder? On April 7th, we'll find out. Presented by Rio Mare, join us in Toronto at the Curling Group's first ever Battle of the Sexes, as world number 1 Team Homan takes on world number 1 Team Mowat in a head-to-head charity curling skins game with a twist. 8 ends, 4 rule changes, and curling like you've never seen before. Watch it live on the Grand Slam of Curling website, app, and YouTube with celebrity coaches and special guest appearances. The Curling Group's first ever Rio Mare Battle of the Sexes, April 7th, Mattamy Athletic Center in Toronto. Get your tickets now at thegrandslamofcurling.com. Let's rock!
Welcome to the rockshop.net, the official store for the Grand Slam of curling. Whether you're looking for the best hats, stylish clothing, fun toys, or unique accessories, the Rock Shop has it all. Shop online anytime at therockshop.net for exclusive Grand Slam of curling gear, or come see us in person at your next event. Therockshop.net, where fans find their favorite curling gear.
Welcome back here to Swift Current and the Speedy Creek Shootout. You're watching this on Curling Stadium, Curling Zone. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are today on Friday. Marty Thompson and Dave Wills with you for the call here. And we see this Dutch team after that draw. It was a steal of 3. They're trying to wrap one around this corner guard and likely gets pretty aggressive here in this third end already.
Yeah, the Dutch are in a position where they have to make sure they get at least 2 in an effort to sort of claw their way back. And the way the rocks are lying right now, they have the option to hit and roll underneath the corner. So that will be their goal. And both removing red rocks, but also hiding in a way. Well, we've got a nice, I was going to say we've got a nice double, almost a nice double. As opposed to that roll. I'm a little surprised they rolled away, given that they put up that corner guard, except if we just simply say that was a miss. I don't know, Marty. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess hard to say. Regardless, it gives Matt Hall a decent opportunity to really take control of this end. So for this Dutch team, you mentioned earlier there, David, likely booked this trip out to sunny Saskatchewan this time of year. I'm sure it is sunny there in Martinsville and in Swift Current this week. Yeah. But booked it hoping that they would be a part of the Worlds that are happening in Moose Jaw. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. 2-7 at the Euros, and ended up getting relegated alongside England in that process. So talk to us a little bit about just this Dutch team's process through the European and the World system. I know they've been to the Worlds. They've been a really competitive team, but this seems to be on a little bit of a downturn here, this game, excluding this game, of course.
Right. No, they're so this particular team, Sherry Liebrandt has been involved with the Dutch program as a coach, and I crossed paths with the curlers and with the coach a number of times when I was over in Europe with some of the teams I was working with, and they're a terrific group who are incredibly dedicated. They have a lovely facility in Zoetermeer in the Netherlands. They host some really great events there. I guess it's only 3 sheets. I was trying to remember visually the number of clubs I've been in. Make your head spin, so I sometimes forget. But they are having a little trouble with consistency in terms of the amount of time and energy they're investing compared to some of the other teams. So in the case of this Europeans that you mentioned, what happens at the European is 10 teams play in the A level, then 10 more in the B, and then there's even a C level in the Europeans. So what you have to do is if you start, you have to start in the C, and then you have to qualify. The top 2 teams from C get promoted to to B, and then the top 2 teams from B get promoted to A. And the only way you can get to the Worlds is to finish in the top 8 of the A level. So sadly, these guys came in 9th this year and did not make it to the Worlds. And also, because of that, they are being demoted, so they have to go back to the B for next year's Europeans. The A and the B happen at the same time, literally in the same place, simultaneously. And so they'll go back. They have to try to come out of the B and get to the A again. But that takes 1 year, right? That's a full season. And then once they get back to A, they can go to the next Europeans and try to qualify for the Worlds. It also means that they can't try to get points towards the Olympics, which is probably the bigger dagger in terms of their spirit. But it doesn't seem to keep them from just picking up their brooms, putting on their shoes, and away they go. These guys love to curl, and they stay dedicated. So my hope is that we'll see them continue to grow and get more and more comfortable, and regain their consistency.
Yeah, it was certainly a bit of a heartbreak at the Euros there. Lost on a tiebreaker with the Czech team that's here in Swift Current. 2-7, both teams, but just one on the head-to-head. and they even outshot that Czech team, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, over the week. So, yeah, slim margins for sure. And like you said, you really got to work yourself back. You know, it's just like relegation in football over there in soccer. It's, you know, it can be a bit of a hurdle to come right back up, and you know, the work really begins now.
Yeah. You know, 2 seasons ago, I was working with the Spanish program, and I was at the Europeans with the Spanish men. They were in the A level, trying to get to the Worlds. And sadly, it was interesting that they lost 3 games that if they had won any one of those 3 games, they would have gone to the Worlds and they would have stayed in the A level. And of the 3 that they lost them all by 1 point on the last shot of the game. And one of those was in an extra end. So it couldn't have got much closer. But that's the kind of margins we're seeing. Like you say, there was a tie break. You know, it was a head-to-head with another team, and it can be that close. Usually there's a couple of teams at the top who tend to be a bit dominant, but after that, there's a real battle. So...
yeah, it's one thing to get relegated, like I mentioned, in a sport where you're playing all year round, but to get relegated in that short little, you know, 5-day span when, like you said, the margins are so slim. But it's at the end of the day, it's hard to argue against anyone when it comes to just how tight the margins can be in this sport, whether that be last shot draw or what have you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are at least quite good in terms of the way things are set up. You do get to play everybody, and they compare you against teams that you have played. So, you know, nobody's using their imagination. If you play a 10-team round robin, you have a fair shot. And if you don't, you know, come in the top 8, then that's because of how you played. They have good reason to say, okay, well, in this situation, you have to go back and work your way back up again, because there's a couple of hungry teams in B that have just battled their way up, and they're very ready to come up and play in the A level. So
Spain's there. I know Ireland had a good year this year. Turkey, France, Finland, Hungary, lots of good teams in B as the depth in Europe certainly begins to be fleshed out a bit as we move through towards the next Olympics.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you go to the Europeans, even the C's, I mean, you'll get teams from places you kind of go, where the heck are they from? You know, like Andorra was there, or I don't know, Liechtenstein or something, and you kind of go, holy cow! But they have a curling team, and they're really proud and really enthusiastic. The same in the Pan-Continental. I mean, when you get teams from Puerto Rico and Kenya, places like that, you know, it's amazing.
So a little come around here from this Dutch team, hoping to get this yellow rock buried at all, and it will be exposed. Now, do they even really worry about that stone? They likely do, because it's shot, second shot.
The good news is they're lying 2. So they didn't bury, but at the very least, you're right, they're counting 2 right now, which means that Team Kleiter has to deal with at least one of them. Do you think there's a cross-ice double? They seem to be trying to decide.
Yeah, if anything, I'd be curious if they don't just hit that yellow stone and see if they can't get a roll. Well, they might be just trying for the straight double. If you hit it thick, you might just sort of roll towards that yellow stone and be shot rock, potentially.
And the other thing is, if you leave yourself closer to the yellow, even if it's not a perfect shot, then chances are maybe the next yellow that they see will be closer, and therefore the double will be a little easier to manage. So maybe this is a 2-step process. But they definitely have made their mind up, and this rock will be thrown with a fair amount of weight.
Right up to skip stones here for Rylan Kleiter. He does not shy away from that big weight. He does not shy away from shots like this. Chance for a big double here in the third end. Tight right away, though. Trevor Johnson with the sweep. Where does that roll to? Just over top of that yellow stone. Any thinner would have been lovely.
And it went out, sadly, which means we've left Wouter with the chance to draw again underneath the corner and hide. Maybe he can get it a little deeper and a little bit more under the guard.
Quite close for this team out of Saskatchewan to really put, again, this Dutch team back under pressure. But as you said, this draw, this come around, they just saw what Hoekmans did there coming through. A little adjustment from the skipper. Hopefully they can make this a little bit better. They can come flat to that Yellowstone as well if they just go right to the tee.
Right. Yeah, the flattening them out makes it much harder to make the double. But I think they also like the idea of having some part of it hidden.
Taking a similar line we saw inside out in the previous end, just that sort of opposite hack, letting it work across center and then having that motion come right about here. Weight looks pretty close, and it will be. What a nice spot there.
Very, very difficult flat double. If I'm honest, I guess they started thinking about it, but I don't think there's any chance to make the double. But they definitely want to hit and lie one and force the Netherlands to deal with what they've got in order to score their two. Well managed end.
Yeah, most certainly, as we have now this team from Saskatchewan under a bit of pressure. Kleiter with the hit. Maybe a little bit of precision here. You could just hit and stick, maybe have a tiny roll, but really got to be careful with this red stone. Final one here for the team throwing red. Snowplow right away. Oh, and they're going to start carving it. Got to get right to the face, and it looks like they will on the sweep. Again, this front end has just been fantastic for this team. They will not be out counting that yellow stone, so it's either a hit or a draw here, it looks like, for the Dutch.
Yeah, so you're right about that. Technically, the yellow is already lying one. Now this comes down to the confidence of the skip, and if he can throw T-line weight. He did last shot. In theory, he could just do the same thing again.
I'd imagine with this broom, it's I shouldn't make any predictions.
That's right. It's one of those ones where the broom would be the same for either shot, so we have to wait and see him throw it before we know.
Final stone here for this Dutch side in the third end, down 4-0, looking for their deuce. It is the draw. It doesn't look like
are working
heavy.
hard. Yeah, the last one was heavy, but this one they're having to work. But it appears that he's going to get there.
And a nice little comeback deuce there for this Dutch team heading into the fourth end. Make it 4-2 for Team Kleiter. They'll have the hammer when we return in Swift Current.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed, more innovation.
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Welcome to the RockShop.net, the official store for the Grand Slam of curling. Whether you're looking for the best hats, stylish clothing, fun toys, or unique accessories, the Rock Shop has it all. Shop online anytime at therockshop.net for exclusive Grand Slam of curling gear, or come see us in person at your next event. TheRockShop.net, where fans find their favorite curling gear.
Stronger agronomics. Better returns. Greater peace of mind. From pre-seed to post-harvest, you can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
Welcome back to the Speedy Creek Shootout here, Curling Stadium and Curling Zone, bringing you this game on a beautiful Friday afternoon or Friday morning or Friday evening, wherever you are, maybe even Saturday, who knows. Marty and David Willis with you here. Kleiter now finally have the hammer here in this fourth end and looking to maybe apply a little bit of pressure on this Dutch team. It's tough. I think you've had your skipper here for the Dutch start to warm up a little bit here in the last couple ends. Maybe this is going to be a team that will be contending here through the last half of this game.
Yeah, it's I mean, having that 2 points to make the dent in the 4 is really a valuable thing, because then even just a 1 point steal changes the complexion of the game. I think it's great that they've managed. They seem to have managed to regain their confidence with the weight. So now we've got a more textbook look at the center line guard approach, with one guard going up and then everybody else just following around into the middle of the rings. Looking like a mixed doubles game with the guard in the middle. So this becomes a question of positional play, angling and tapping, moving rocks around.
And just the tolerance you're looking for in the rock placement, making sure that you put a stone in just the right place, or alternatively, as we just see there, Marcy Trevor Johnson ending up a little bit light, finding your tolerances, right? As much as that's might be seen as a miss, you know, you do have some staggered guards, and maybe you can, if your team Kleiter, afford to play with a little bit of fire, knowing you have so much hitting ability in your final two players to, you know, maybe just throw a couple rocks in the forefoot and see where you end up.
Yeah, the one that they just threw was a little bit light, in my opinion. I wasn't sure exactly how deep they wanted to go, but it seems to me it would have been better for them to take it even a little farther into the house. Now the Dutch guys are coming down, and they're just adding to the complexity of the situation. If they can put a guard up which protects any access to these various angles, because I think at some point somebody's going to start trying to peel. Here we go. And the more complex you make it, the more difficult it becomes to remove the protection in front of the house. This will be Matt Hall's first attempt at basically doing some damage to the front end of the front guards. You don't want to do damage to the front end. That would be bad. Here we go.
Them to throw those stones.
Yeah.
Looks close. Oof. Nearly ticked that other yellow stone there.
Trying
Just
to
a
read
quick
body language here. It's not easy.
Yeah,
What
certainly
did the
not.
skip call when he waved his hand like that?
Just a quick little look around at the other games happening right now in draw 4 here in Swift Current. Dustin Keltoff and Jordan McDonald. McDonald has a 2-0 lead after taking 2 in the third. Xiaoming Xu and Jaebom Lee playing the Chinese and Korean sides respectively. Jaebom Lee with a 2-0 lead there. Sam Weebrook, Steve Laycock with the team, local team out of Swift Current here. Steve Laycock up 7-0.
Yeah.
Stole 2, then stole 3. You can kind of see that at the corner of your screen there. If you're looking at the other games while you're looking at this one, and still waiting on an update here for Wesley Wendling and Lucas Klima. So it looks like the rip up the middle here for Matt Hall.
Yep, basically the same shot, the same type of shot he just threw, which is nice. I don't know about you, Marty, but when I get in the hack and the skip asks me for exactly the same shot twice in a row, it's awfully nice. You get to throw it and relax and say, okay, I know how to do this because I just did it. Or I know how to do this, I just missed, but I want another chance to do it right. So either way, it's a nice thing.
The last time I mentioned mixed doubles, hopefully. I'm kind of a nerd for it. But we were just, again, watching the Canadian Championships and just talking about that middle three thrower. You know, that's a whole nother discipline there where you end up sometimes throwing the same shot, not once, but not twice, but 3 times. And it can really kind of mess with your head, or the adjustments can be so finite Sometimes it can be actually kind of a curse, but I think in 4-person, like you said, if it's more of a blessing because you have those teammates you can rely on. You have more input on what you throw. The sweepers can take those stones and start to really work them. So
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and we've basically stayed with the guard scenario, and this one is not quite as effective. It's a lot longer, and it didn't curl up to the center quite as nicely. So, I think Team Kleiter is now looking at the option of ignoring the long guard and taking a stab at some of the rocks that are closer to the house. They're definitely trying to get things cleaned up.
Are they kind of looking at like a yellow, red, yellow, red? Basically? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I think so.
So just on the intern side, as we see it from above, that doesn't look too bad just knowing that guard is so high and doesn't even look like it's over center.
Right. Well, the strange thing is it begs you to say, well, hold on a second, who's going to be shot after they do this? Well, I'm not certain it'll be their own team that will be shot right away, but if they open it up, they open up a world of possibilities. And let's remember that Team Kleiter, the Red Rocks, have hammer this in. So they're trying to sort of set the stage for a chance for multiple points.
So just again, you're banging on about just trying to read body language. Are they looking at the yellow kind of splitting the two guards or ripping the two guards to just maybe open things up?
Yeah. Finding a way to get access to the 4-foot in a way that's going to allow multiple points.
Something to maybe watch too is the shooter coming off that Yellowstone and maybe even potentially working as a corner.
Well, based on where the broom is now, I think they are actually taking a shot at the long guard. I don't know that they're still ignoring it. If they run yellow back into yellow, hopefully they can move things around and get rid of all the traffic in the center.
Josh Maddern here. Trevor Johnson on the sweep right away.
There you go, yellow, yellow. They did leave the red long guard.
Not a bad result here for Team Kleiter, because you're also putting a little bit of pressure on this Dutch team to try to manage this one lonely stone here, the top 4.
Yeah. Well, the thing they have to do is decide, are they going to try to steal or are they going to just try to limit Team Kleiter to 1 point? And either one would be a victory. But if it's hard to make that steal right now, Team Kleiter and the Red Rocks are shot rock. Very, very challenging to find a way to score for either to add another point for Team Kleiter or to score for the Dutch guys. So I think this is another guard in between the two Reds.
Yeah, Lawrence Hookman is trying to plant one right on center. Looks like they don't like the weight too much, but again, you don't want to push that rock too far out. Sweeper smartly switch. Says, yeah, Van Darp on the outside trying to carve this stone over.
That's turned out fairly well. There's no direct line between the two Reds. They are, I think, going to do what you would call a similar shot to the last one, running the red back into the yellow, splitting them both. And if they're really lucky, the shooter will roll away so that it's not in the way.
Yeah, just that part right there, Dave, was that little bit of precision that they needed on their last one here from Josh. Another attempt coming. Key where the shooter rolls, and he'll be a little bit wide, so got stuck in between two there. That's really not the way you wanted to miss that shot either.
Yeah. Well, now having thrown that guard last shot, Team Gosgens can have a look and say, okay, wait a second. We can come in closer now and maybe find a way. If they could tap their yellow up 6 inches. Just have to be careful not to leave themselves exposed.
This is a team that loves to play with lots of rocks in the house. I think about that game that they played against Scott Howard last weekend in Martinsville. Gosgens was just a really nice tap up through a, minimal port to score a big end against them. They certainly thrive with this type of play, and I think that a little bit of aggression will certainly help push this Dutch team forward through this end, because if you make this shot, you're going to be feeling pretty good about yourselves, especially your chances to steal.
Yep, there's a lot of protection up in front because the guards are staggered. So we have to just make sure that this rock stops in the right place.
Megan on that inside started with more of that snowplow motion and is now really trying to keep that rock moving. Really good management. They're going to carve this over. No, they've got to beat that redstone. They will just. And the sweepers awfully close to managing that perfectly, but not a bad miss, because all of a sudden, Team Kleiter is going to be looking to protect this.
Yeah, because that's an easy tap to sit 2 or 3, depending on how far you tap it, if you're coming down with yellow rocks. So now we have to really be careful. It looks as if the broom position is, suggesting this is going to be a guard, but exactly where it's going to stop relative to the house, we're not sure.
So Rylan Kleiter with another guard so far in this game. The first one was certainly made on better terms than this, trying to limit this Dutch team to a potential tap up to, as you mentioned, just sit 2, and at that point super buried. This team will be looking to make this one really well. First of 2 here from Kleiter. They have the hammer here in the 4th. I think your key here is to keep this rock wide. Let it finish. Looks close. And it will come to a rest just beside that yellow center line guard.
No. I don't know that it needed to be that close to the line. If I'm being picky, I'm thinking he could have had that be a little bit wider, because technically there's a draw around the red guard that could still come down and bump those yellows. Maybe not quite as hard as it could have before, but I think there's a path there. They're looking at the other way, the intern maybe coming back and actually bumping the red or sitting in the button. Yeah. Also a possibility.
Yeah, I guess you try to play some tolerance. If you just come corner frozen to the red, that's fine. If you tap it back, it's even better. A couple different ways you could make this shot. If you were desperate to score, you might try to throw the yellow-red run, but there's different ways. Even if you're light on this stone, I think Rylan Kleiter just simply throws this stone away on his last. So certainly a big shot for this team from the Netherlands. They're down by 2, but there is a way for them to make this shot, I think, David, where they could be sitting 3 pretty comfortably in the 4-foot.
Well, they picked the line. They seem confident. So let's just see. It's going to have to be, I'm going to say, a fairly carefully, trying to think of the right way to say the weight. Down weight, I mean, just a tap, which almost looked like a draw, because it's got to curl an awful long way.
Yeah, you want to keep it close to that back 4 T-line weight, and then let this front end here of Jaap van Dorp and Alex Megan manage the stones. Or my apologies, yes, that's Lawrence Hoekman. He's one of the sweepers here. Final stone here for the Dutch in this 4th end.
I've got to make sure this is by the guard. Oh, I think it's wider than I thought it was.
Might be a bit heavy too. Oh, they were able to carve that over. Now this is a pretty good recipe. The carve continues, just a little bump on that red stone. Oh, that is awfully nice.
Very
That
good
is
shot.
awfully nice. Yeah. So
I don't think they got 2. I think they may be lying 1 right now. But again, there's definitely some inspection going on. Hard to tell.
as much as Rylan Kleiter wants to get the best look at this stone, I don't think it changes the outcome of what they're going to be doing, which is sending that rock all the way through the rings. Just before we go to break here for the fourth, I mean, really well executed end for this team from the Netherlands, partly just because they play with a little bit of danger up the middle, right?
Absolutely, and they've done a good job. They've managed things well in terms of the weight, which was an issue, I think, in the early part of the game. And here's Team Kleiter, who just everybody's just sort of nonchalantly sliding down the ice. There's a rock there; it hasn't stopped, but now they're going to have to measure this. I think. I don't think they're going to be able to decide just by eyes, but I may be wrong.
So it won't be 2 as they removed that one yellow stone at the top 4, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a measuring stick out here for this. No, it looks like it was yellow. Okay, so a steal of 1 here in the fourth. We will be right back with the fifth end in Swift Current.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardlines Ice Pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best brew in the game. Hardline. Join the revolution.
Sasktel Be Kind Online wants to stop cyberbullying. Want in on the action? We award up to $1,000 for youth initiatives that help spread kindness and prevent bullying. What great idea do you have to help stop bullying? Sasktel can help. Go to BeKindOnline.com and apply for a grant today. Together, we can make a difference.
Hello and welcome back to Swift Currents. Another steal there in this game. This time it is this Dutch side. Gosgens taking 1 in the fourth, heading into the fifth now, 4-3. David, I know we just sort of mentioned it briefly off air, but I guess good to see if you just want to watch a competitive game. It's good to see this Dutch team just take that little steal back and put themselves in a good shape.
Yes, I mean there's a nice difference after you go down basically 4-0 to come back 4-2 and then get to 4-3. It totally changes everything, and we're almost starting over in the fifth end, not quite, but we have 4 ends to play, half a game, and there's a 1-point difference. The only little twist is the team that's got a lead has also got the hammer. So this is where they need to make sure they make the most of this opportunity with the hammer, and at least make 2. By doing that, they'll really put their opponent back under some pressure.
Trevor Johnson throwing lead stones for Team Rylan Kleiter. He bumps that stone back, leaving it exposed. Now there's a chance for Van Dorp to just hit and roll with some bumper weight to get underneath cover.
Yeah, they exposed the yellow, which is part of the goal, but they also exposed himself because his shooter rolled a little bit too far out into the open. So we have a chance for a nice hit and roll. And with a good result, they can all continue. The Dutch guys can continue to put some pressure on Team Kleiter and his guys. So here we go. Little bump, but not much of a roll. A little bit. Line 2.
Another rock length to making a very similar shape to what we saw in the previous end, just trying to get to that sweet spot there, that top 4, just biting the button with that yellow stone. Kleiter trying to do the same thing, but maybe just not as precise. They obviously don't have as much room now, as that yellow stone is sitting quite comfortably in the 4-foot.
Yep. Well, they're basically now at a point where they're trading the same shot, hit and roll, until somebody makes it well enough that they have to go for things from a different angle.
Matt Hall with the throw, and looks like we have Josh Mattern on the sweep.
Yeah, only one sweeper there.
Might have been a bathroom break for Trevor Johnson.
Yeah.
So now for this Dutch team, do you want to attempt fade and get involved in that 4-foot, or do you want to start hitting these stones?
It's a good question. If it's me, I think I like the idea of getting things a little more open. By that, you can limit, more likely to be able to limit your opponent. However, it's a question of comfort. These guys seem to be having more luck with certain kinds of shots. And the other thing is, by forcing their opponent to hit, they seem to have been making a little progress in the game. So if you open things up, then the opponent can draw, and we're playing into their hand. So I'm not sure. Looks as if by the end of the discussion, the broom's down and they're throwing a hit. Run back could potentially remove three rocks here.
Big stone here coming from Van Dorp. They'll come across the face.
Ooh, that was awfully close to disaster. All right. Yeah, they are having trouble, both teams, with the accuracy of their hits. They bring the weight up, and we seem to be having trouble with the lines. Okay.
So for Team Kleiter, they could play something down, weight, and make sure they get underneath.
Yeah, because if you can hide underneath these two reds, they're staggered in such a way that it's hard to get, any access.
And we're just talking about this Saskatchewan team and trying to force them to different shots. I certainly would not want to get them into a hitting game. That said, if you end up making this, then the Dutch team might be forced to just try to clear out these guards, and all of a sudden it's an end where Kleiter's shaping up for 2 or 3. Big sweep here. The carve now coming from Josh Mattern, trying to get to the inside. Oh, he made it move enough. Excellent little roll to the back 4.
Yep. The nice thing about that wasn't a lot of weight. I mean, you didn't even remove the yellow. It's still hanging on the back, but is that they got underneath those staggered rocks. Now, a nose hit will remove 2 and stay in the house. So I think this is the ideal shot coming down.
Now approaching third stones here with Lawrence Hoekman. His team without hammer here in the 5th end, looking to move some granite right up the center line. As we mentioned, David, that both teams really struggling to dial in that up weight, especially line down the middle.
And there we go. Nice double. Now we need to get some separation. Team Kleiter has to make sure that their red rocks, both counting, are separated so that the double is very difficult. If they leave an easy double, all of a sudden this end will turn around.
Looking for a hit off that yellow stone and rolling anywhere, anything. I guess you're probably aiming to be somewhere in the 8-foot, just touching it or inside of it. Trying to make this double difficult here as we move through Vice Stones now with Team Kleiter. This is Josh Mattern. Should come up pretty good.
Even managed to double. Remove that little yellow biter at the back. Now, the other nice thing is that based on where it's rolled, it's very, very difficult to make a double, which is excellent.
I don't think they could have put it in a better spot on that roll.
Nope, that's awesome. The double's there, but they can't keep their shooter. And it looks as if they're just playing a hit and roll on the back.
So Lawrence Hookman, a longtime member of this team and has been with this skit for a long time. Here's the hit and roll under here. Nice manage here from this front end. Looks awfully close. They will nose it.
Yep, they're looking for a roll, but that's okay. Challenging the opposition to take it out and try to not roll to a place that's easy to get to. And if for any reason they should over curl and it rolls out, all of a sudden the original red is wide open.
Chance here for Team Kleiter to hit and roll right away, gesturing that it's up weight. Yeah, you gotta carve it. Gotta make sure you can get a decent piece of this yellow stone. And they might just come to nose again.
Well, still very challenging to get both, but another chance to do a hit and roll. Oh, now we're even considering a freeze? No, I don't think so.
Certainly balancing how difficult a freeze would be, although that would be an ideal scenario. It's got to be pretty good, and I think any bump would really give this Kleiter team something to play with, regardless. The call is that hit and likely a little flop underneath. Yeah, exactly. So again, a good rebound here from this Dutch team, down 4-0 early on. Crawled back with a deuce and then a steal in the fourth, if you're just joining us. Of course, they are under a bit of pressure here, but if you make something pretty nice here, there's a chance for you to roll in behind and be shot.
Yep. I think this is a possibility. We just need to, Wouter has had a little bit of trouble with the upweight shots today compared to his draws. He's now under control, I think, with his draws. So I need to make sure that we get this line just right.
Rocks have really been coming over for both these teams. Have they figured it out? Looks like they almost did. It will roll just outside of the 8-foot. And now Rylan Kleiter with a chance to split the rings. We're hit and roll that yellow. Interesting. And Kleiter, this Saskatoon team, 3-5 record at the Brier, certainly would have been disappointed in themselves as this team with some really big ambitions. I think we'll get to it later, even Olympic trials ambitions for this team playing events this late, trying to get as many points as they can. But it was I'm sure a great Brier experience, but just coming up a little bit short, even as debutants. They would have wanted something a little bit better.
Yeah, there's a few teams there who are experiencing the Brier for the first time. And the two things is the environment, for sure, as factors that you need to get used to that you probably have never experienced. I mean, even some of these wonderful events that they play in with quite good quality teams are great experience, but the energy and the environment, the atmosphere, the noise in a Briar is really something you have to experience it to believe it. And sometimes the teams they have a trouble adjusting. The other factor is just that the quality of the teams in the field. I mean, to say, well, we were 3-5. Well, that means you beat 3 teams that are in the Briar. That's not easy. So although you might not win the whole thing, you certainly you were part of the mix and got in there and did some great competition. So hopefully they see it as a really positive step forward, and then they'll just be the next thing will be, okay, how do we get back? So that's what they should be thinking anyway.
Final stones for this Dutch team here. Gosgens with the chance to potentially earn a blank here with this double.
Yeah. He doesn't have hammer, so he's got to get rid of at least one red, and he's trying to do both. Come on. And if not, then it will leave an open draw for 2. And as I mentioned in the early part of the end, to get a 2 here, to come back after giving up that steal and taking a good step down the scoreboard will be a big plus for Team Kleiter.
A draw anywhere to the rings for their 2 points here in this 5th end. Team Kleiter 1-0 already. 4-2 win in the first game over Bryden. As mentioned, semifinalists last weekend in Martinsville, looking to better that result here in Swift Current.
Straight draw. The entire house is open. Nevertheless, they'll be trying to watch a line, just learning a little bit more about the ice, and trying to manage the rock, say, to a given specific distance, probably T-line. And it looks like they've done very, very nicely. Hardly any sweeping.
Yeah, exactly, which is the goal in those last stones. Top of the button here, make it now 6-4 for Team Kleiter. We'll be back with the sixth end right after this.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardlines Ice Band has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best broom in the game. Hardline, join the revolution.
Saskatchewan, you know Sasktel because we're everywhere. Because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. With Sasktel sponsorships, we get to be part of your community. We're here with you, and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. Sasktel cares. Always has, always will. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
The people have spoken, the votes are in, and the players are ready to rock. At curling's first ever All-Star event, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th, where 13 of the world's best men's and women's curlers face off for a star-studded celebrity pro-am, a unique skills competition, and an all-star skins game you won't want to miss. Got a ticket? We'll see you in Music City. Don't have one? Better hurry. They're going fast. The 2025 TCG All-Star Game, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th. Let's rock.
And welcome back here to Swift Current, and we have our sixth end here between Team Kleiter and Team Gosgens, 6-3. As mentioned earlier, this Dutch team crawling back in a little bit. Kind of a peculiar start to this end here, David, with the two red stones being nearly side by each here in the forefoot.
Yeah, I think the idea was one above and one below, but they ended up sitting side by side, which is not the end of the world. The concept is very similar. They definitely need to get a guard up there at some point. And Team Gosgens is basically just ignoring it and putting up a second corner guard. So we'll start to see some things coming around. There may be some hit and rolls and some draws, but they definitely know they have to score at least 2.
So as much as we're near the end of the curling season, there's still always lots of permutations, as there are points cutoffs always now being considered for, obviously, the Brier, but of course next year is also the Olympic trials.
Right.
The Montana's Olympic trials for both the men's and the women's. Now, it's at least reading the tea leaves for points, it appears, and we've been hearing this, that if, and again, this could be close, anywhere. It's really hard to tell with points, of course, hard to say anything definitively, but Kleiter makes the quarterfinals and qualifies for this. They should have enough points, and then they would, if they didn't, it sounds like if Team McDonald's, if they don't win, and for example, like if neither team, I guess, wins this tournament, then they'll be in good shape to qualify. But that might be, another reason why we see this team playing so much this year.
Yep.
They can feel like they're on the edge. I know this is something that John Epping has talked about with his rink, where they came in and it's like, look, I think we're good enough. We just got to play a ton and we got to get there. And it looks like they will as well. So lots of permutations, even though, again, this is a Bonspiel in late March. There's still a lot on the line for this team from Saskatchewan, it seems like.
Yeah. And we're still, we're not in the heart of the season anymore, but we're at a point in the season when the teams justifiably feel like they're playing well. We've got our groove going. We understand each other. We're communicating and we're comfortable. At the beginning of the season, or even midway through, there are times when you're still adjusting or you're distracted by mid-season stuff. This is nothing else going on. Let's curl and let's play hard, and let's make sure we get some traction out of our efforts. So
the 2025 Canadian curling trials will take place in Halifax. Had the mixed doubles trials last year around the same time. It'll be November 22nd and November 30th.
Yep. The mixed doubles trials were kind of in the Christmas holidays kind of time, but that was an amazing event. Fantastic curling, and so was the one that's just taken place this past week in PEI, right? Charlotte? No, not Charlotte.
Summerside, I believe.
Summerside. Thank you. I knew it had 3 syllables, but Charlottesville, Summerside, they're similar.
And of course, with the trials, just generally, especially in 4-person, they've got the pre-trial qualifier. I believe that is out in Wolfville in October. But you don't really want to be a part of that as much as you're a good team. We've seen lots of good teams come through that event and really challenge through the trials process. But is that ever a gauntlet? And teams just really putting everything they have, really good teams in that sort of middle pack that, again, you don't really want to be in that position if you know you can acquire enough points to get there, from the get-go.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, frankly, if you look at the Olympics, for example, you could qualify for the Olympics by getting enough points at the 2 World Championships, last year's and this year's, and then you're in. Or if there's 2 more spots available next November at the last chance qualifying event, and you say, "Oh well, we can always go to the last chance." Yeah, but you don't want to go. you want to get there before. You don't want to have to go through that. I've been at the last one, which was actually held in the Netherlands. We're watching the Netherlands team now, and I tell you what, it's exciting, but boy, is it stressful. These teams are basically fighting for a spot at the Olympics. There could be 8, 10, 12 teams, and there's 2 spots, and that's it. There's no medals, there's no first, second, third place. It's just, did you qualify or not? So, yeah, I understand what you mean.
So this Dutch team there, they had that yellow rock around those 2 corner guards. It wasn't in a completely untouchable spot, but looks like they have a chance for a little hit and roll to get buried. Looks like these Reds might jam, though, when they do that.
Well, I think it depends on how hard they throw it. They should be able to double off the Reds and hopefully roll. I guess it will really depend on what kind of weight they throw. But let's just see how they manage the rock.
Carving the stone over here.
Needs to curl a little bit more and not roll too far. Sit down. Well, it hung on, but it's not first or second.
There's a decent sweep there from Jaap van Dorp to bring that over, but not quite enough. Now, is there a way for Kleiter to really attack? I think he's looking at just doing this hit and roll. That might be the nicest way to get underneath those yellow stones, but you could also just make the draw around the corners first, too.
Absolutely.
Just make sure it's high. Make sure it's like a top 8. Yeah, about there.
Yeah, the guard is now, originally I think it was supposed to be serving the team with hammer, but the team without hammer is now taking advantage of it. It's backfiring a little bit. All because we rolled a little too far. That yellow rock, if it had rolled under the guard, we'd be in a completely different place right now. Oh, now we're considering going in the center.
Maybe they want to. They don't mind just sort of leaving this open because they want to play. You know, they want Lauren Tuckman to throw some hits or. Curious if that's part of the discussion here.
Yeah, I think we have a timeout called based on the general movement of all the bodies on the ice. But I'm a little puzzled. I mean, they don't have hammer, so in theory it's nice to get something in the center just to get in the way, but I don't really understand. It's interesting how he's definitely calling the shot by committee. I always say to myself, at some point, you know, I think it's okay for the skip to decide what he feels comfortable with and making a decision. He had originally pretty much decided where he wanted that rock. You and I both loved the call, and we're experts, obviously. So you know, and then and now we're having a 5-minute discussion about whether or not we like it and what else we might do. The same thing happened in the game we were in yesterday with the Japanese team. They would make a call and then they'd change their mind and talk about it for a while, and I couldn't understand what they were discussing. It seemed it was a fairly obvious situation. In the end, they decided to stay in the center. Oh, okay. So you and I have been dismissed, and okay, here we go. Draw to the top 8.
And this, I mean, this is the thing with play calling and curling is it is fundamentally subjective. There are some things that are solidified in fact, but at the same time, I see the methodology behind this, controlling the front, keeping it high. I think most importantly, just making sure there's no red double that's easy on either side.
Yep. How about a red triple?
Yeah, let's make the triple easy, no problem. I think that's mission accomplished, though.
Yeah. He'll let us know. I think hit and roll is probably his best idea at this point.
You could remove that stone and then, have it sit right there where you could even be shot and be frozen to that red stone that's at the corner of the 8-foot. It's possible.
That way he's guaranteed he's shot. If he tries to hit and roll under cover, it's not a bad idea, but he has to make sure he's shot. Otherwise, it doesn't really have very much value. So I think he's right to do it that way. So.
You have Jaap van Dorp coming down. He throws second stones for this team, but is holding the broom on Gosgens' last stones in the end I believe in Martinsville for at least a period of time. They're using Alex Mangan for that role. So lots of different strategic options for this team to take. Now I'm wondering if he's maybe just sort of giving him some alternatives. Yeah, you roll wide's not great. I just think there's a way to get rid of that shot stone and then have your shooter be shot stone. It's kind of hard to, as much as this is a difficult shot, it's kind of hard to argue against.
Yeah. I think Jaap has just stepped up and more or less convinced his skip of probably the 3-shot combo that we're looking at here. He's got his eyes on what will we do now, and then the next 2 will allow us to do this and that. But first things first, Lawrence has to make this shot.
It's not an easy one for this Dutch side to execute, but they do have hammer. It's a great opportunity to keep a shot stone in and have it protected in some way.
They want just the right amount of roll. That's the tough part. Sit, 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 sit. Yeah, need to be swept a little bit more. Okay. So I think they're close. Yeah, they're at least. It's good enough that Team Kleiter is at least acknowledging its presence and probably dealing with it, which is a good sign. It takes away their chance to do something in the center.
Looks like a chance just to hit a half of that yellow rock. I think Matt Hall has intimated that you can almost spill off that red and have it come down. You can almost put that red stone, your shooter, essentially where that stone that was just thrown could go. I don't think they want to get too cute with it. Doesn't look like they're entirely frozen either, but there's a couple ways you can make this shot for sure. Doesn't seem like it's going to be big weight, so something to watch out for too.
Yeah,
certainly some tolerance to this.
They try to avoid doing any damage to their red, which is actually sitting shot right now. So if they can avoid that and roll in toward the center, that will be ideal.
First of 2 here from Rylan Kleiter in the 6th end.
Line's looking really good. Yeah, that works. Doubles there. Double and roll.
That's the call right away from Gosgens. Is trying to make that roll big too. Potentially, he could come all the way across. That's going to be a lot of weight, I think. If you're super desperate, I think the other call is to try to corner freeze on one of the reds and hope it's lined up in such a way that it could spill over, but if it was hit. But this is obviously a sound call at this point. This team's down 3 points, though. They've got the hammer in the 6th, though. So that crucial 6th end advantage when you play 8.
Yep, they need to make 2, and then manage the ends really well. Coming home now. This looks like it's the line is actually better than I had thought. Initially, it looked like it was narrow, but it looks like it's turned out quite nicely. Roll to the center. 2 reds gone. So Team Kleiter has to be a little careful.
Yeah, just a little hit and roll, but as you mentioned, yeah, you don't want that Yellowstone to come too close to that red one. Because keep in mind, we do have that biter back there. You can just see on the edge of your screen that Yellowstone way out edge of the 12-foot. Manage this right, though. You won't have any problems. This team's already up 3 points.
Yep. Then the only little thing is, depending on how far it rolls, it may leave a double. Because that one hanger-on at the side there for yellow, if they ever get a chance to remove both reds and stick around, they could get there too. So we'll have to watch and see where this finally stops. First things first, we have to remove the yellow.
Such a good front end here, just trying to
Don't let it
manage
curl
this rock
too much,
perfectly.
though. Be careful. Okay. Oof. That worked out beautifully, actually.
Really good line call from Matt Hall as well. Excellently managed. And now they've got to come right and hit that redstone. And a really good spot, because an issue this Dutch team could run into is how that rock rolls. It's not like you could roll out into the 12-foot and still be shot. You do leave them to some precision. Now, they're not calling for the double, are they? No.
With the broom the way it is, if they're throwing a peel weight, then they're trying the double. And if they just throw sort of a nice board, then they're looking just hit and sit for one. So I really don't know, because I think they looked at the double, but it is awfully difficult. It's a very skinny double. Then they're down by 3.
They'll be looking for 2, though. Like,
Yeah,
as you mentioned,
right.
a 2 would be ideal here as you move into the 7s.
The downside is if you try it and miss, then, well, you're in big trouble. So let's just, this is not looking like he's throwing big weight.
Sweepers are saying it's up. It's got to curl quite a bit to come over to the face of this redstone. And it looks like they'll get there. Oh, made the double, but did not stick the shooter. Heartbreak for this Dutch team.
Well, they did get one.
Close.
Yeah, they did get one.
Did just get the 2, or just get the 1 rather, sorry. See how close this was. Now, they could have actually played this a little tighter, eh?
Well, they were sweeping it to curl. What they needed is to not, it curled too much.
So close to get fully back into this game.
Yep.
Regardless, they will take 1 point, 6-4. Rylan Kleiter, they have the lead, and they have the hammer when we come back.
Team Homan rocks. Team Mowat rocks. But who rocks harder? On April 7th, we'll find out. Presented by Rio Mare, join us in Toronto at the Curling Group's first ever Battle of the Sexes. As world #1 team.
Okay. Trying to decide how much of a delay there is on the YouTube feed.
Oh, sorry, I was just off mic there too. Sorry.
Trying to see how much delay there is on the YouTube feed. Tiny bit, not much. Okay.
All right. I'll start with a little score update, I think, here for the other sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 10-3. Yikes. And welcome back to the 7th end here. Curling Stadium's Speedy Creek Shootouts. We're watching this in Curling Zone, Curling Stadium. Marty Thompson and David Wills are on the call here for you today. Just going to quickly go over some of the other games that are happening here. Draw 4 in Swift Current. Dustin Kaltoff and Jordan McDonald. McDonald up 5-2. He has the hammer 2 in the 7th end. Scored a nice 3-under in the 5th. Chao Ming Zhu and Lebom Lee are also in action. The Chinese and Korean sides, they're tied 4-4. Lee with the hammer in the 7th. Sam Muibrook and Steve Laycock, you might have saw that game in the corner of your screen. It wrapped up after 5 ends. Steve Laycock with a 10-3 win there. Posted 2 3-unders and 2 2-unders in that one. And then the other game we have is Wesley Wendling, the American side, out of Minneapolis, and Lucas Kilma out of the Czech Republic. That game was also tied 4-4, and the Czechs have the hammer in the 7th end. Coming back to this game, though, Rylan Kleiter with the hammer and up 2. How has this sort of framed a start here, David, just understanding the scoreboard and Kleiter likely wanting to just play to it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the guard has gone up for the Dutch team because they're desperate to steal and basically trying to make things difficult. There's a double center line, but the Saskatchewan boys have put their rocks in the house and are basically in a position to score with the hammer. In 7 with a 2-point lead, if they can manage at least 1, but probably 2 or even more, that should pretty much put the game on ice. So I think they're playing quite aggressively. Right now they're peeling these, at least 1, if not both, if they can manage it, of these center line guards. There goes 1. And they'll probably continue to do that as long as they can to open up the center and keep things accessible for themselves. It's really a all or nothing thing right now for the Dutch team to basically put together an end that will get them at least 1 and keep them in the game.
Yeah, Van Dorp throwing second stones here, aside from the Netherlands. Looking to come right down to that red stone in the 4-foot.
It's difficult to being in the 7th end of 8 and down 2, because if you're only down 1, you can say, well, if we let them score 1, we've got hammer and we're 2 down coming home. But if you let them score 1 and you're 3 down coming home, that's quite another story. So
now this yellow Orion's belt is formed through the 3-guard zone out to the back 8. Matt Hall second. Now an attempt to get rid of 2, potentially 3 yellow stones on this hit. And they will just peel that top guard.
Yeah, I think they were trying to do more damage than that, but I guess maybe the line just didn't come back for them. They did throw a lot of weight, and good news is, at the very least, you got rid of the center line. Things are pretty much open.
Yeah, Matt Hall might have just sort of popped that stone out a bit.
It's easy to do. It's late in the game, and they're saying, just make sure we get rid of something. Okay, and then just fire a little bit more loosely. So we are now looking at bringing a rock into the house, maybe kind of jiggling things around a little bit, making sure it's not easy to remove large numbers of scoring rocks. This is down weight.
Towards Hookman delivering.
Initially, Wouter asked them to bring it into the house. This doesn't look like it's going to get there.
It will be a touchdown, likely just a guard. Now, does that help this team? Not necessarily, because Rylan Kleiter already knows what he's doing. Again, trying to get rid of that yellow stone and potentially do some other damage, as you said.
Yeah, that's the strange thing about this for Team Kleiter is they'll say, well, if you're going to throw centerline guards, that's fine with us because we'll just keep peeling them. And it makes things easy for 2 or 3 shots in a row. At some point, we have to make a decision about how we're going to manage things in the house.
We have a lot more action here coming all weekend long from Swift Currents. 2 more draws today. Got one coming up here later this afternoon, 4:30 p.m. local time, and then again later at 8 p.m. Wouter Gosgens will be back in action tonight against J-Boom Lee.
So you haven't tried to attack the Dutch pronunciation of his name? I always think to myself when this guy shows up, this team is terrific. Everybody knows who they are, but the G in Dutch is a real problem for people, and I always laugh. And you ask Wouter to pronounce his name for you, and he does. It's Gosgens, right? and then he does, and then everybody sort of says, "Oh, well, I'm glad I asked because I was being polite, but I'm not going to try."
I try the kind of I guess it's I don't know. I've heard the name pronounced, and it seems like I'm trying.
Yeah,
okay?
no, it's
Look,
fine.
I'm
No,
trying.
nobody's criticizing anybody, but it's one of the things that's quite funny about how we run into these different languages. The countries, the players from different countries where their names are unique and interesting. We have, for example, Rasmus Vrano, and he has that A on the end of his name, which has a circle above it, and everybody looks at it and says, "What the heck is that? How do we say it?" So, and we try to substitute English sounds that we know to make it work, but it's always funny. But he's got a great sense of humor. He knows that his name is not easy, and he just smiles and shakes your hand and says thank you. And
thank you.
That's fine. Yeah.
Let's wrap up this conversation. And then the other game we have on tonight for the teams in action, Rylan Kleiter is taking on Maida, the team out of Japan. Again, that would be 8 p.m. local time here in Swift Current. So looks like this Dutch team going after that redstone in the top 4 and hoping to maybe get a little roll. You don't want to jam this either.
Well, you bump this through that gap between the yellow and the red at the back, and then roll away slightly, sort of over to the edge of the 4-foot. If I had a telestrator, it would be nice. I could feel like Russ Howard. But you're sitting 3, and at the very least, you're making things difficult for your opponent. You can't do much better than that. And eventually, if he makes the shot, well, you did what you could.
We've seen this team thrive with these shots on Gosgens' last stone. Just that really nice, precise, looks like a little bit more weight than they wanted to. Will they punch the hole? They will. What a great shot.
Yeah, lovely. They're doing so much better than they were in the first 2 ends. It's almost a different team. Yeah.
So the call here from the Saskatchewan team is to make that double, but I think crucially have that red stone kick up off that yellow that's in the top 4 and maybe spill out a little wide. Just to make a potential hit harder for this Dutch team, or make a double, obviously impossible too. Lots of ways you can make this shot really nicely, and some tolerance that you can just make it okay and still be in a good shape.
Yeah. Well, if you look just from the end-long view at the house, it's a very wide target if you want to hit something yellow. The question is, can you hit 2 and get rid of them both?
On this stone right away, can Josh Mattern steer it in? Yes, he can, and it will spill upwards and out of play. So this Dutch team with a hit and stick to force Kleiter or that.
Yeah, I think they have to ignore the rock in the back and lie 2, one in the opposite side of the house. That would be my first instinct. I was thinking what Jaap indicated with his broom, but again, we're having conversations about what's the best plan. So we'll see what they end up choosing.
Looking to close a 2-point deficit, knowing if you force them, you have the hammer in the 8th, but you kind of want this team to have a miss that a big miss regardless. So it does look like they decided to hit this red stone.
Yeah. Well, choosing to hit the red means assuming they make the shot correctly, then there's no chance your opponent can get more than one. So that makes sense. But it also is a lot easier to deal with when it's at the back of the house. I mean, now they've got 2 rocks behind the tee line, so we'll see how they manage it.
Gosgens having
Now
a
they're still
conversation with the front end here.
No problem. This is incredible. They're still chatting. They made a decision, and he comes down to throw it, and then they're having another chat down at the hack.
So, freeze on the red? Is that what they're intimating?
Because they're trying to force. I
Yeah.
guess if they bump the red out, then they're saying, then technically there is a double for a blank. But I don't know. It's tough double. Now we're going back to the one in the top of the house now, which was where Yap put his broom to begin with. Okay.
Well, this is just some good scoreboard management, I think, from this team, understanding the conditions they're in already here in Swift Current.
Yeah, you put the rock across the house, top 8, and you force them to try a double or draw for 1. If they try the double and miss, you could steal. So it is, it has options.
Final stone here for Gosgens. They do not have hammer in the 7th, but looking for something really good to bring themselves back into this game. Trying to find that top 8. Line looks pretty good, and it will sit exactly where they had set the broom. So really precise shot making there. And Rylan Kleiter has to hit and stick for his 1.
Yeah, is he hitting this or is he just drawing?
I think he
Well, I
tapped
guess
the
we'll
rock.
find out.
I think it's a hit. Yeah, we'll find out very shortly.
Because if he's hitting, then he's, based on where that broom is, he's got to throw it pretty hard. That's not a lot of room to curl. Just want a nose hit, basically. Unless the ice is dead straight, which it could be. I mean, you and I have been watching these rocks, and they are curling a bit, but maybe there's situations where they're just not curling that much.
Of course, Kleiter with that pretty significant set, you can see.
Yep.
It's got wide on them. Really got to come to the face. Looks close, though. They didn't quite get it, so they give up a steal of 1 in the 7th. It'll be a 1-point game when we come back. Rylan Kleiter with the hammer.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed? More innovation?
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster. Sounds like 1 more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Welcome to the RockShop.net, the official store for the Grand Slam of curling. Whether you're looking for the best hats, stylish clothing, fun toys, or unique accessories, the Rock Shop has it all. Shop online anytime at therockshop.net for exclusive Grand Slam of curling gear, or come see us in person at your next event. Therockshop.net, where fans find their favorite curling gear.
Stronger agronomics, better returns, greater peace of mind. From pre-seed to post-harvest, you can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
And welcome back to Swift Current and this crucial 8th end in pool play at the Speedy Creek shootout between Team Kleiter and Team Gosgens. Marty Thompson and David Wills with you. It looks like we had a stone that went into the rings and it was removed there by Rylan Kleiter. They have the hammer. They're up 1, looking to play it safe in this 8th end. I think the real story of the game though so far, David, has been this Dutch team giving up that steal of 3, down 4-0, and just slowly but surely crawling their way back in this game.
Yeah, they've been tenacious, but the other thing is just quite simply that they just weren't playing well in the first couple of ends. They were having some trouble managing rocks for speed and even putting the broom in the right place. And now, if you watch them, I just, was mentioning earlier about their body language. They're confident and comfortable out there, making shots much more easily, and so it's made for a much better game. They've managed to get back to within 1. The sad part is that they don't have hammer. They had to basically steal last end, which they did, and they need to try and steal again. So coming into the start of the 7th, needing to steal is a scenario that many of us can relate to. And so far, they've managed it in the first of the 2 ends, halfway done, but they need to steal at least 1 in order to stay alive.
And what are you looking for in terms of, the shape of the house for this Dutch team in order to ensure they can get the steal? We see another guard coming. Got to make sure it's on the center, right?
Well, it would help, but it's coming over quite nicely toward the end, and it's about a quarter covered. Either way, that Team Kleiter is going to start trying to get rid of the guards. But if you don't have a guard, you have nowhere to hide. And if you have nowhere to hide, then the team with hammer really can take advantage of the situation and ultimately just keep removing rocks until the last shot. And then if they need a point, they can just throw a draw. And if they don't need a point, they don't even have to do that. It doesn't matter. So the guards and having a place to hide is a key thing. So here they are again. They threw up a guard. It was peeled. They'll throw up another guard. And they'll probably do that for at least the first 5 rocks. And then they'll have to start coming in, bumping things around and sitting in the house, because ultimately they have to, if you want to steal, you have to have the best rock. So we'll see how they do. But this is just another guard, Gap Bundorp, their second, throwing another center line guard. The idea will be just over the hog line.
A real comeback game too for this Dutch side. They lost 7-1 in their first game against the team from China, and they gave up, if I'm not mistaken, I think they gave up a steal of 2 and then a steal of 3 back to back. So heading into this game, I'm sure it felt like in the first 2 ends that they were heading down that slippery slope again, but really tenacious performance and bringing themselves back in.
And Team Kleiter's played well, but they have had a few sort of half shots where they've, they wanted to hit and roll and they just hit, or they've rolled out, or things like that. So there's been a few little things that have happened and given them chances. So now we still need another guard. Things are looking a lot more open, and Team Kleiter is probably starting to relax. They have access to the house, and that's all they really need with hammer and a 1-point lead in 8.
It does look like some of the more games are heading off the ice too. Of course, that impacts conditions. If a clutch draw is needed to be made, we'll be looking at the front end to read some of these rocks. We have Jordan McDonald and Dustin Keltoff. That's a final 7-2. The McDonald rink wins that one. That'll come just about edge to edge on the center line. Lots of teams here preparing for the World Championships again, which will start just next week. We have the Czech team. The Nicholas Adine rink is here, of course. Lots of good, talented teams in attendance.
Yep, the Chinese men are here. The team they're playing, the Korean men team, is not the team that's going to the Worlds. There's just another one of the Korean men's teams, but That's a deep, deep pool of very good curlers in that system right now. So there's more than one good team.
So the guards continue to come here from this Dutch rink. Now it's the third Lawrence Hoekman throwing.
Yep, this is his final shot of the game. So we're now at a point where we need one more good guard, and then we have to start thinking about other options that involve scoring points. They may have to freeze because I don't really think there's a room to draw behind the red rock. Oh, well, this is just a little bit off center.
Team Kleiter looking forward to more games coming up. As you mentioned, that Korean side, Lee, they're in their group. Chinese side, they've yet to play and made it from Japan.
There you go. There's a bit of a miss. So now we have a guard and we have a chance to hit and roll as signaled by Jaap van Dorp. Hopefully there won't be any objections from anybody else.
Coming right up to skip stones.
No, here we go. We're now already talking about options to draw behind.
Gosgens has a great shot here. Just, if anything, to shrink the scoring area. You're just thinking about how can you really get in there and maybe make a draw at the end difficult if forced.
Nice little down weight. Bump the red out through the back of the house. Just flop underneath the red guard.
What do you think that weight is based off of the broom we see here?
Great question. Because we got fooled in the last one, didn't we? I mean, we thought based on it being so tightly broomed that he must have been throwing big weight. It was pretty firm, but it wasn't as if he threw peel. This one maybe bored. I think hack will curl too much to make this work. Now they do want to hit. What would you say, Marty? About a half a rock?
Yeah, likely. I think if you're throwing board, this might just be right. You actually do see a little bit of room there, maybe a broom's length between the broom itself and the rock. Calling it straight right away. Maybe where he's going to catch on center here.
Yeah, that's the problem when you're dealing with the center late in the game.
He's not getting off of it.
No, little roll. That, sir, is a very fine shot.
Awfully precise here from this Dutch team. Wow. So Rylan Kleiter having to rip this guard, or as we saw before, potentially run back. Now it wouldn't be considered that much of a miss. Under a little bit of pressure here in this eighth.
And he's elected to take care of the guard, opening it up, which will put us in a situation very similar to what we had last end, where the Dutch guys can come down and put another rock in the house and then challenge him to decide whether he wants to hit and stick or just draw. That is assuming he doesn't have a straight nose run back, which I'm hoping he's not trying. No, he's not. That's a peel. So, boys.
The Dutch team trying to figure out the best way to either protect or manipulate this setup. Real gift here. You would have told them at the start of the eighth they'd have a situation like this at the end. They would have taken it.
Absolutely. Told them after the second end. Yeah, keep going. In the eighth, you'll be. So it looks as if they're trying to tap their own rock.
So push that yellow stone towards the tee, if not a little bit farther.
Yeah.
What's the methodology here? Maybe try to force Kleiter to a double?
Yeah, give him the idea that he could try a double, tempt him, or his alternative is just say, I bet you can't draw closer than I am. So it's a tough shot. If they make this well, it makes his opponent have to work for his victory.
Final stone here for Gosgens, looking to steal his way to at least an extra end here in Swift Current. Their second game of round robin play here in the Speedy Creek shootout. Hasn't missed a lot.
It needs to curl an awful long way. Oh, it's trying. Sit. Not bad.
So Rylan Kleiter looks like he is going to attempt the double for the win. You just need to remove those 2 yellow stones. You keep your shooter, could out count 1. But I think your goal is just to hit this dead on the nose and just get rid of both.
Yep. The only danger, he has to be a little careful, obviously, is if he doesn't hit it at just the right angle, he may end up giving up a steal. So he needs to be careful. You'd love to hit it, as you say, right on the nose. And that should be it. Or across the face.
Yeah, true, get it the other way. Final stone here in the 8th end for Rylan Kleiter, this team from Saskatchewan, looking to solidify the win here. Started this game with that 4-0 lead, looking to make something happen at the end here.
Well, we can probably assume the shot's on the way. Everybody is walking off the ice, and we didn't.
Looks like we did but I'd imagine Kleiter got the one. We just had a glitch there at the very end. Our apologies on that. We just had a solid frame for a little too long.
Congratulations to Team Kleiter, who clearly made a very nice shot on their last rock.
Well, we can wrap this up there, David. Obviously, a team that got under a little bit of pressure in the second half, but we're, I think, full value for that win.
Absolutely.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in here. We will be right back for the next draw again this evening. Be sure to tune into all the games here on Curling Zone. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, viewers. See you again soon.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed, more innovation.
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster. Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardlines Ice Band has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best brew in the game. Hardline. Join the revolution.